How's it going, everyone? I wanted to do a quick video today about using vintage lenses, and in particular using vintage lenses with your mirrorless camera system. In early 2020, I stumbled across a video from the YouTube channel Xenography about using vintage lenses, and I started exploring using vintage lenses with my Fujifilm cameras. One of the things that drew me to using vintage lenses is the unique characteristics that many of the lenses have. Many of these lenses have unique ways that they render the bokeh in the images that you take when using a wide aperture. Lenses like the Zeiss Biotar and the Helios 44 and similar lenses have a swirl effect to the out of focus bokeh in certain situations. Other lenses like the Pentacon 100mm f2.8 has a soap bubble effect to the specular highlights in the out of focus areas. YouTube channels like Xenography and Mark Holtze are fantastic resources for learning about various vintage lenses, and I'll give a link to those channels in the description below. Early on in my photography, I avoided using manual focus unless I absolutely had to, but now with the manual focus assist settings found on mirrorless cameras, I find it quite easy to do, and manual focus lenses are on my Fujifilm Xpro2 about 80% of the time. For the manual focus assist, I find focus peaking to be the easiest for me to use, and that's the manual focus assist I generally use. Oftentimes when talking about new cameras, you often hear about the speed of the autofocus or the eye detect autofocus assist, and unless you're working on a high-speed photography, I don't really find them as a necessity, and oftentimes I have to remind myself to slow down while I'm working on my photography, and having the couple extra seconds to manually focus a lens, I find that's generally useful in helping me slow down and enjoy the process even more. An additional benefit of using vintage lenses is many of these lenses won't break the bank. Some vintage lenses can range up in price to several $100s, but others you can find for as cheap as $20–$25. Anytime I go to an antique store, I'm always looking for cameras because you never know what you may find, and you may find a nice vintage lens for cheaper than you would expect. Once you have a vintage lens that you want to use on your mirrorless camera, you'll need to get a adapter because the mount systems have changed. I currently use M42 to Fuji X mounts as well as Canon FD to Fuji X mounts. These adapters are fairly easy to find online, and you can pick one up for pretty cheap, and I'll list below the adapters that I use personally in the description below. Let me know in the comments below if you use vintage lenses on your mirrorless camera and what inspired you to pick one up. If you're not using a vintage lens, I say give it a try and you might be surprised at the images you can get. Here are a few images I've captured using vintage lenses on my Fuji camera. video, do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, have a great day.